Committee. First thing, can I get a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes?
So moved.
A move second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, we're gonna take some stuff out of order, if you guys don't mind. We'll start with number 30.
I just have to make a quick comment on 29. As our office has worked through the Granicus implementation, we've had some hiccups. 29 should not be on there. It was in elder care and passing it, stay out of elder care, but should not be on this agenda, so it's not being withdrawn, but removed from this agenda is what it should be. It's not appropriately in this agenda.
Okay.
All right, you're on.
Yeah, very good.
Eric, go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity to be back again tonight. I was here last night, and Mr. Bergdorf, you don't have to listen, you've already heard this. But I'm very pleased to be here because this is almost a historic event that I'm here to talk about. I'm here on behalf of the county departments that handle representation of indigents in criminal cases to ask that the Law Committee authorize an agreement between the County of Albany and the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services to approve the statewide expansion of the 2014 Hurrell Herring Settlement Agreement, and further to modify and amend the 2019 Albany County budget to incorporate and accept some modifications relative to the agreement. A very brief history. Back in 1963, the United States Supreme Court unanimously held that the states were responsible for providing legal representation to indigents charged with crimes. It took 51 years for New York State to acknowledge and accept at least a portion of the Supreme Court decision in the Hurrell Herring Settlement Agreement of 2014, where 5 counties, not including Albany County, sued the state of New York to provide such services. The state settled that agreement and agreed to provide for the improvement and expansion of legal services for indigents in criminal cases in those 5 counties. Shortly after that, in Albany County, the county executive, Dan McCoy, tasked his executive team to draft proposed legislation to expand the Hurrell Herring settlement on a statewide basis. That was sent to the legislature. It was sponsored by Pat Fahey and others, and it was, I believe, unanimously approved by both houses of the legislature, only to be vetoed by Governor Cuomo. But in 2017, in the governor's budget bill, he included the vast majority of what had been in the Fahey legislation, and that is why we are here today. In that budget bill, the state put aside $250 million to provide statewide expansion of the Hurrell Herring decision and the improvement and expansion of legal services for indigents in criminal cases statewide. What we have here today, and what I'm asking you to approve and authorize, is Albany County's share of that. It's $26.2 million over a period of 5 years to be paid in increasing increments. The understanding and agreement as to how to distribute that in Albany County was previously agreed to by the county and Indigent Legal Services at the state, with the exception of, other than in principle, how to deal with the assigned counsel plan. While that was being reviewed by Indigent Legal Services at the state level, Albany County passed its 2019 budget, so the specifics of how to distribute the money and in reference to 18B, the assigned counsel plan, were not included. They were subsequently included when the matter went to the Division of Budget and the Comptroller, And that final agreement has come back for your review and consideration. So the only additional modification is that in the proposal for 18B assigned counsel, there's $50,000 allocated for fees for services. That's basically expert witnesses. The proposal that you have in front of you for year one will be over this coming Sunday. So we know pretty much what 18Bs have spent already for expert witnesses on orders signed by judges. And the $50,000 is not needed, at least in year one, for the assigned counsel plan. So the proposal is to take that $50,000, $20,000 stays with 18B, $30,000 of that gets transferred to the alternate public defender, the conflict defender's office where it is needed. And that's the budget change that would be requested. And I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Kraus?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge, your support of this entire program carries great weight. And also the fact that this is 100%.
100%, and it's set aside. And I was asked a very good question last night. It would take, as I said last night, Armageddon to have the state fail to follow through with the $250 million
Well
set aside.
explained, and based upon that, I'd make a motion that we adopt.
Can I get a second? Fine. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge. Okay, next one, we're going to take 31. Authorize an agreement with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services regarding the Alternative to Incarceration Program. Commissioner.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to appear. This is an annual contract renewal with DCJS with Albany County. It actually pays a little bit for two programs. For one, the probation department, where we provide post-arraignment and pre-arraignment services, where we offer the courts information regarding bail receipt, bail decision release. And we also supervise persons that are released to us prior to receiving a probation sentence, called pretrial probation. And it also pays a little bit to the public defender to provide programming and alternatives for courts and sentencing. And it's a small amount of money, but it enables, once approved, it enables the county, as a 13A county, to for the jail to receive a classification system where it would maintain a safer environment and less restrictive, providing additional services classification for inmates.
Any questions from the committee? Can I get a motion? Bergdorf? Second. Cunningham? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening, everyone.
Going to take another one out of order, if it's okay. Do number 21. Chairman Joyce. Local law B for 2019, the local law of the County of Albany providing real property tax exemptions for non-residential real property converted to mixed-use property pursuant to New York Real Property Tax Law, Section 485A. There's a handout that's being passed around. Get everybody the handout.
Thank you, Mr.
Chairman,
Chairman.
go ahead.
This local law comes at the request of the City of Albany, basically a home rule request. The City of Albany and the school district have adopted these exemptions to encourage developers to invest in residential properties, almost all of which were vacant or in serious need of rehabilitation before the exemption was offered. The city asked for it, and it will only affect the city, both in terms of who can receive the exemption and where the exempted taxes are going to be made of. While this was pending, my office talked to members and staff of both the majority and minority. The concerns raised were received and the law was amended to address them. The amended version before you now is what went to the public hearing, and the sole speaker was a developer in support of the exemption. I ask that it comes out tonight with a favorable recommendation, pending your questions.
Any questions? Can I,
I move.
you want to make a motion? Favorable? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna go to the front of the agenda. Number one, local law, what's it? Okay, so number one, local law C for 2018 is tabled. Number two, local law G for 2018 is tabled. Number three, local law J for 2018 is tabled. Resolution 236, which is number 4, amending the Albany County Rules of Order, that is tabled. Number 5, Resolution 238, amending the legislative procedures of the Albany County Legislature, that's tabled. And then number 6, local law M for 2018, tabled, correct? All right, we get to 7. Local law N for 2018, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending section 1101 of the Albany County Charter, and local law number 8 for 1993, as it's subsequently amended to promote the hiring of an economic development director. Tabled? Right, okay. Okay, resolution 281, amending the Albany County Legislative Rules of Order regarding Rule 22, number 8, that's tabled. Number 9, that's Mr. Higgins.
Nope, 9 is Joanne.
Oh, Joanne, I'm sorry.
Sure.
All right, local law O for 2018. Joanne?
Just a couple comments.
Yep.
So what is in the packet was actually presented at the last meeting, some additional language changes reflecting some additional outreach on, with some redistricting and apportionment experts that I hope folks in the legislature, not just the committee, have read and digested. And I know we had a good bit of discussion last time. I do want folks to know that subsequent to last meeting, I've made some additional changes, also receiving some additional information from, I think I referenced, I had met with somebody from the Attorney General's office who gave some good guidance and also put me in touch with a pretty renowned redistricting expert that's with the Rockefeller Institute. Sat with him, got some additional feedback. But I'm not ready to share that yet, but I'll distribute that in advance of the next law committee meeting so we can talk. This is still moving along. I want folks to know that this is on a path where, you know, we're going to vote on this in the next couple of months, certainly. And the effort is, at this point, I would characterize it as some fine-tuning and additional language changes to further ensure that we're protected against any litigation challenges, that we are truly making sure that we have a transparent and accountable process. But stay tuned, additional changes coming.
So, table?
Table.
Table.
Okay. Number 10,
10 through 16.
10 through 16 are all tabled. So let's then move on to number 17. 17 is tabled. All right, and we're moving on to number 18. Local law T for 2018, is that, that's going to be tabled, that's the sponsor. Number 19, resolution 524, reaffirming the terms of local law L for 2018.
I had actually asked that this law be withdrawn. So I wish more people would do that.
Yeah,
Obviously, as we go through the agenda.
So 19 is withdrawn?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Number 20, local law A, that's tabled. Number 21, we just did that. 22, public hearing on proposed local law C for 2019. That's mine? Yeah, okay. That's the local law I'm proposing. I talked about it last night, on the finance in regards to the retailers who have put scanners in their establishments. We're trying to amend a law that we passed in 2011, which we placed requirements that individual retailers were required to follow in Albany County, including individually pricing all items in their store so that consumers would have transparency for the pricing. But it also allowed the stores to apply for waivers from this requirement, and if they could apply for the waiver, and they would have to pay a flat fee of $3,000 regardless of the size of the store. What this is proposing is more of a sliding scale on the size of the store as to how much you would pay in the waiver fee. Right now, we got 5 different sizes ranging from 3,000 square feet, where it would be $500, up to the largest store, which is 90,000 square feet, which would be $1,750. We're hoping that we'd get more stores that would participate in this, because a lot of the smaller stores, didn't make sense for them to pay that large of a waiver fee. And then we're hoping that we'd get more participation, and we would generate some revenue for the county, anywhere from maybe $50,000 to $100,000 a year. So,
Mr. Chairman, this
Yep.
is just on the public hearing, right?
yeah, I just wanted to give a little, background, but
No,
I'm
that's
just
great.
looking to move the public hearing resolution out tonight.
I'll move it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks. All right, number 23, public hearing of proposed local law D for 2019. And that is,
It's Joanne's plastic ban.
oh, plastic
Yes.
ban, okay.
I would like to move it out tonight, and here's why. In fact, I was on the phone with someone tracking the state discussion about the bag ban bill that potentially is going to be in the state budget. This is an issue that's obviously in flux right now, but the reason I think it's really important to keep the public hearing, despite the fact that the language that I've submitted is going to very likely change pretty dramatically, but I think we should have a public hearing on April 23rd, because what more of a timely time to be talking about this? This is one of the most predominant, last negotiated issues in the state budget. There are a lot of folks in the legislature that are listening to outside groups. I will tell you that I've gotten phone calls and emails from folks wanting to meet with me to talk about this issue. There's a lot of interest in this issue on both sides. I've had great meetings with not just environmental advocate folks, but also folks representing some of the shopping establishments, including the convenience store folks. You'd be surprised at the level of receptivity to doing something, because you might imagine that this issue getting a lot of attention has the merchant, or the shopping and business community, the convenience stores, the grocery stores, all stores concerned, because they want to be part of this. They don't want to be the reason for the proliferation of plastic bag trash and, congestion in our water systems, pollution in their communities. They're really interested in working together. I'm excited about that, but what better time to have a public hearing than the month of April, when we're going through a state budget discussion. I think you all know me, and I understand the legislative process quite well, and you understand that I know, as is evidenced by the many iterations of language in the redistricting bill. The process is, you introduce a bill, it gets evaluated by your colleagues and the public and everybody else. It changes, you then make changes, but I don't see why a public hearing wouldn't be a great opportunity to hear what some of those changes would look like. So I would like to move it out tonight. I know that ironically, the Conservation, Sustainability, and Green Initiatives Committee did not report it out. I plan to make my case to them. I realize there's some outstanding issues, but I don't see any reason why we wouldn't want to listen to the public as we go through development of this legislation, and as we see what the state does and what we're going to do. So I would ask my colleagues to support me in reporting it out.
What thing, that was in conservation and
So
improvement?
it was tabled in conservation and improvement, tabled by committee, you should be aware of that.
Yes.
If you decide to move it out tonight, there are issues that exist with it. I can get into as depth as you want to go with that or not. It's up to the committee. I haven't talked to Joanne in depth about it yet, but there are several issues that exist with it. It's likely, assuming the changes are made to respond to the issues, it would come back before you again, if you send it out.
But this is just for the public
This
hearing?
This is just for the
Public
public.
hearing.
Okay.
But I have a question.
Very good.
When we dual reference a law to two different committees, it was my information that it was tabled affirmatively by the committee with two people supporting a public hearing going on.
That's correct. It was,
So in essence, the committee meeting rejected the existing draft.
they voted to table it.
They
yes.
voted to table it.
No, they voted to table the public hearing.
Table.
That's what I said, that's what I said.
Right.
But, so, I was of the impression that both committees have to approve it for there to be a public hearing. Is that accurate?
You would have, if this committee moves it out, you would have to call a post-public forum conservation and improvement committee meeting the night of the April 8th.
Well, there were severe reservations about the policy, the language, the legality, enough to make a significant majority of the committee on a bipartisan basis hold it. You have something happening at the legislature. Why is there a rush to a public hearing when we know, nobody can tell us what these changes are? No one has had an opportunity to review the tape of the Conservation Committee meeting last night. Evidently, people felt strongly enough to hold it. Why would we try to jam this with a post-public hearing Conservation Committee meeting? I'm not done. Why would we do that when we couldn't have a thorough discussion of the language of the bill? It seems to me that that's what we do here. I mean, look at local law, we're going back and forth and back and forth. We're on our third public hearing. There's really not a reason to do this because this all might be moot in less than a week if there is a state law. So I don't understand the rush to judgment. So I would suggest that we not move it out and we wait for some unified input back to both committees so both committees could work together. That's my
Well, here's what I think. I think that there were, I think, some people missing from the meeting last night. I was missing, and I think that sometimes I can be very persuasive to my colleagues. So I was missing, and I would like to be there, and I would like to, the opportunity to make the case in front of the committee through some kind of forum meeting or whatnot. But here's the thing. This is an issue that's getting a lot of attention from the outside of legislative bodies right now. We talk a lot about wanting to engage the public and listening to people at the public forums and public hearings. When, I've been now here, 3 years or so. This is one of those issues that I've not only gotten a lot of calls about, but I think a lot of us have gotten a lot of initial calls. There's a lot of interest in this. And like I said before, it's not in the classic kind of pro and con. It's kind of an interesting blend of, I don't like some things about this, but I really want to talk to you about this. Look, if we get to the point on April 23rd that, there's no need for a public hearing on this, then, we're probably not going to have anybody show up. But no harm, no foul. Why wouldn't we want to send a message to the community of Albany to say, we're interested, this is a hot issue right now. We are interested in what you think. We have a bill, it might be completely moot by then, but it might not, or there might be elements that people feel strongly about that aren't picked up by the state budget, which it's looking increasingly that that may be the case. So I don't see any harm. In fact, I would like us to build on the energy of the issue. There was a number of articles in the newspaper. I mean, people are excited about this. Let's build on that. Let's see what people think. Let's invite Albany County in and say, we want to hear what you think about this concept.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you both for your comments, and for you as well. I think I might have a compromise. As you mentioned, in the next 3 or 4 days, we're going to know if we have a state
Sure.
law. If we do, then I think the need for a public hearing is probably moot. But even in that case, there might be some things that aren't considered. Why couldn't we wait to see what happens? And then you could have a post-public forum meeting of both committees.
Right.
And if there was a need to do the hearing, you do it. It still happens at the end of April. And if there's no need to do a hearing, you've saved people from coming down for a hearing.
I love it with one minor change to the compromise, and that is, why wouldn't we just do our part tonight, and then we can always scrap the other committees public forum meeting. That way, you know, we don't have to fit all those people in that little room, and we can let the Conservation Committee handle it. And if there's nothing to talk about, we won't ask them, or Bill Reinhardt will certainly won't want to convene his committee. But I think it's a great compromise. It's just a slight little tweak. Let's do our part tonight, and we can always, no pun intended, bag the other hearing.
Sam?
I was going to say what Joanne just said,
With the pun?
without the
Mr. Chairman, I think we're sort of on a slippery slope here. If this is going to be the new normal, we're just going to hold public hearings. I can put in a local law that has a paragraph in it, and we'll hold a public hearing just to see what people think. If that's the way we want to conduct our legislative activities, it's, you know, we don't do a lot of public hearings for just data gathering. Our public hearings, we don't actually get to question anybody. So, you know, you get opinion, but you don't get the ability to talk to the advocates, or you don't, whatever. But I think we owe it to ourselves to at least see what the latest, best draft is without acknowledging that it's all going to change. And I think that's wasted time and effort. And I want to be able to read through a proposal and know that this is what people are going to be talking about. Not that there's going to be another piece of paper handed to us at 7:05 on the night of the 23rd that we're going to have to somehow review and decide that that's what we're going to have a public hearing on. I think as a member of this committee, you're entitled to know what the parameters of what you're going to do. This is a very controversial subject, to the point where the Times Union has actually editorialized against this. So, you know, I don't understand our rush to embrace something that we have not seen or understand the specifics of it. So, you know, I could live with, well, I'm not even, it doesn't make any difference what I can live with. I hate to not have the ability to review something and understand what I'm voting to send for a public hearing.
Sam?
I would say the Times Union didn't fully editorialize against it. They prefer basically an amended version where there was a fee on both paper and plastic, and I think that's a good example of why we need the public hearing, because there's a lot of people with different views on this. So a lot of people who recognize the importance to reduce the use of plastic, but may have some concerns or some suggestions to change the law. For example, I went into my local corner store, and the store owner there recognized the need to reduce plastic, but also had some concerns. And I think someone like him might want to come in and speak on the issue, and we might want to hear that input before we decide if and how we change the law.
They also said in that editorial that they thought that there should be something done at the state level.
Yeah,
I read
well,
the
state
thing.
issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they said.
Oftentimes, it's
You know.
us that passes things that
Rick?
I would support Mr. Kraus's proposal as a compromise, but that doesn't mean that people can't comment. We have people commenting in
Right.
the public comment period before every meeting.
Right.
So there's always an opportunity for somebody to come and talk about any issue.
Right.
But if this is going to change, if maybe there's not, that something happens in the state level, I think we should wait and see what happens.
Okay. All right, what do we want to do? Anybody got a
Call the
motion?
question.
Motion to table.
Do you want to say one more thing?
Yeah, I'd like to say one more thing.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I guess I have heard the comment from folks at the table and really in the whole legislature numerous times extolling public hearings as a mechanism to gain insight and input. It seems like it's sort of flavored along whether you like the idea, and I think everyone has probably been guilty of that. But I guess I'm so passionate about this because we're having this conversation right now. So the timing seems impeccable for the Albany County Legislature to invite folks to have a conversation. And look, people, if there's a state law that does a ban without a fee, the Albany County community who will show up are not dumb. They will likely opine about the piece that's missing, which is the fee. I think it would send a good message to people in the community that we're interested in this, and I do think that, I personally have a hard time voting down a public hearing on an issue. I don't think that this is going to be a slippery slope of people just, introducing silly things because they want to get a public hearing on a frivolous or silly thing. I think that, this is a serious topic, gotten lots of input. I think it sends a horrible message to people that we would pass on an opportunity, given that this is in the discussion right now, to have a discussion about our proposal, which is likely, increasingly likely to be, if there is a ban at the state level, there is going to be a discussion about what counties do on the fee. In fact, that is part 2 of the state discussion right now. So it's going to be a great opportunity for a continuation of that discussion for folks in our community. And I would just ask for consideration to be able to give our community an opportunity to opine on that through a public hearing.
I think that Peter's compromise might allow it to happen. So, I mean, I don't, if we could have a public
Yeah,
forum
I'm
meeting and
not
pass
against
it
the
out,
public hearing.
because the other committee would have to do the same thing. So it's not,
I will
it's not,
amend my motion to say we table for now, and then if the 2 chairpersons of the 2 committees feel as though there should be a post-public hearing for a public hearing, then you hold the meetings, and that's a motion that I would make.
We understand the substance of it.
okay.
We can have that.
Can I get a second on that?
I'll second that.
Second it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Opposed?
I look forward
4-2.
to all of your support on that joint public committee meeting for the public hearing.
I just really want to see what they do up at the state, John.
No, I
mean,
understand, I
honestly.
understand.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right.
Now we're on to 24.
24, public hearing on proposed local law number E for 2019.
We have a handout for
I
this.
got a handout on that, and this is Miller's.
Yes, I made a change to this the last couple of days. Basically, the main thrust of the change is to remove under Section 8, Part A2, was removed from the law, and a couple other minor wording changes to the title, but that's the main thrust of what the changes were.
So you're looking to move this out?
I'd like to move this to public hearing
Okay.
and change the date in the resolution to April 23rd.
Okay. All right, so we've already made that change.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions on this from anybody in the committee? Can I get a motion?
So Paul, I'm sorry.
All right, go ahead, John.
So the the changes are just noted in here by the,
Yeah, it's brackets.
Where are they?
they're pretty
Section
minor.
8.
Yeah.
Where are they? Section?
Yeah, most of the stuff is, other than removing that section 8, under section 8, part A2 is removed out of the bill. That's the major change.
Paul, can I just ask a question?
Certainly.
You know, while I don't completely agree with it, I understand the desire to ban certain things. But am I reading this correctly, that a cigar store that sells to people 21 years of age or older would not be able to sell to an adult a flavored cigar?
They won't be able to sell flavored cigars like this.
So somebody who's 65 years old, who's been smoking cherry cigarillos since they were 20 years old, can no longer buy them in Albany County?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, you want to move out the public hearing? Can we get a motion?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, Sam.
Does this remove all use on premise? Is that what?
Yeah, it does.
A flavor, so like hookah bars would be now
Yeah.
illegal? Or?
They can't do flavors, they can still do tobacco,
Straight tobacco.
straight tobacco.
And that's, okay. That doesn't really exist, I don't think.
Okay, well,
Can I ask another question?
sure.
Could a doctor prescribe vaping for somebody who is trying to give up cigarettes?
We are
I don't-
eliminating vaping, but the flavors are what are being eliminated, so they can still have tobacco flavor vaping.
But you wouldn't be able to buy it in the county then,
We
right?
wouldn't be able
Yeah,
to buy
they
it in
can still
Albany
buy.
County.
No, they can still buy tobacco flavor vaping. Yeah,
No, hold on.
Sam.
yeah.
Just so I'm clear,
Right.
tobacco flavored, so you couldn't get like cherry flavored vape?
Right, you couldn't get it, yeah.
Yep. Sam?
I'll just add, I think this should be we should really think about this if we're going to ban places like hookah bars. That's something that's for the Arab, Middle Eastern culture. It's a very much part of their culture, and so I think we really need to consider that. before we do
Well, I
that.
sent you some stuff on the hookah and stuff.
No, I'm not saying it's healthy, I know it's not, and drinking alcohol isn't healthy, I think, but,
Okay, well, I guess I
I'm
can
not
read
arguing
off
it's healthy, I know it's a bad habit.
Can we get a motion to move the
So
public?
moved.
Second? Any second, Sam? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Two opposed. Okay?
Oh, I'm sorry, I need to abstain.
Oh, you abstain.
Would you put me as an abstention, because I have a conflict?
I will vote to send it out without recommendations, because I just need you to know that I believe that we have to have some personal responsibility in this world, and people need to make choices. And I don't do any of these things, nobody in my family doesn't do these things, but I really can't see telling my constituents who are mature and have lifelong habits that they can't do it anymore in their own county. I think that's beyond the pale.
All right, well, you voted against it.
We're only asking no
Well, I
public
mean,
hearing.
we already voted to move it out, so it's out. All right.
I'm sorry.
Actually, now we gotta go back to 22,
Yeah,
because
we need a motion to reconsider in 22. We need to amend the date. The date needs to be amended. So first, we need a motion to reconsider.
Motion to
Second on
reconsider.
that.
Okay,
All
all in
in favor
favor?
of that?
Aye.
Okay, now we
Motion to
need
change the date, the
Motion to
23rd?
change the date, amend
April
it.
23rd. We need a
Motion,
second on
Mr.
that.
Kraus. A second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all right, we're good?
Yep.
Okay.
While we're at it, I'll make a motion on number 25
Yeah,
that we,
423.
oh, we have to do 23 too?
No, I was talking to Mr. Conlon.
Oh, no.
No,
On
no.
25, that we change the date, if it needs to be changed, April 23rd?
22.
Do we need to do that?
24.
On 25, on
25.
We
25?
amended that.
Is that,
So,
For local law.
Yeah, I thought Paul made a motion. Okay.
Public
Well-
hearing.
Okay, Paul, did you make a motion to amend the date on yours?
I asked that in the minute.
Okay, so we need to reconsider 25, or excuse me,
Okay.
24 as well.
all right,
We need a motion to reconsider 24 as well.
yep. Motion for that?
Motion.
he had put in his motion on 24 for the amended date.
Yeah.
Did somebody
Okay.
second that? We already voted.
Yeah,
Okay,
somebody
then we're good.
Yeah.
All right. Now, O is the one that we just talked about?
Yes,
Okay.
and I'd like to, do we need to amend the date?
We do need to amend the
All
date.
right.
Make a motion to amend the date.
I just want to ask a question, and I have no problem with that, but we heard that there are more changes to O, that one of the sponsors has drafted and is not sharing them at this time. When will people in the legislature see those changes?
And the public.
And the public?
Soon.
What does soon mean?
Well in advance. I mean, we're not gonna, it's a public hearing. They'll be don't they have to be published?
So, I mean, by the open meetings law, because we are scheduling this in more than a week in advance, we have to give at least 72 hours notice to the public. We have the ability after the full legislative meeting on the 8th. Traditionally, by the practice of our body, we have our meetings on a Monday. Any changes that are coming for a local law that are gonna be in, which Joanne's discussing, would be sent out Friday to the newspapers, so it would be Friday the 12th, April 12th. It'll be sent out to the newspapers and posted on the next week, April 17th is typically the publication date, which is well before it's 6 days before the 23rd. So we're meeting the open meetings law requirements in that respect,
So at least 6 days before the 23rd.
which is 3 days more than we're required to under the.
I think we're gonna have them long before
Yeah, we're gonna
that.
have,
Okay,
they're
well,
already done.
You'll have
Well,
it,
just reacting to what was said here.
I'd say in the next
Yeah.
3 or 4 days, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're just making a motion to amend the date so
The
that
date.
we do move this out at the post-public forum meeting, if we have one, that we'd have the correct date, correct?
Right.
Well,
Okay.
this would be on the agenda
This-
for the April 8th, right?
we need to amend the date on this
Right.
Yeah.
resolution.
Right.
Right.
Either way.
Move that
Either
we
way,
amend
all
it to
right.
April
What'll
23rd.
happen is when this public hearing is passed on April 8th, we administratively, from a staff perspective, we contact the newspapers.
Right.
Based on the publishing schedule, we get it to them by the 12th. They publish it 4 or 5 days later, so it show up in the newspapers
And that'll be
by-
with whatever the approved text is,
Yep.
which we will
Right,
have,
Yes.
right.
which we will have before that.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah, well, that's what
Yeah.
I'm,
absolutely.
Yeah.
just trying
We were
to,
talking
I
about
think I have
plastic
good
bags.
history on that. I've got
well,
it.
We'll have it. We'll
We'll
have
have it. They're
Okay.
done. I just want to sit with the sponsors. Peter's already received it
it. You
and,
just need to sit with one.
yeah.
Okay, all right, we got a motion, we have a second? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
So as amended.
April 23rd.
26 is tabled pending the public hearing.
Right.
27 is tabled pending the public hearing.
28.
28 is tabled pending the public hearing, correct?
Yeah.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.